These are the symbiotes we totally want to see in Venom: The Last Dance. So if we're gonna go back to Marvel's 2018 Venom comic, it dramatically overhauled the mythology of these symbiotes by introducing Knull, their god and creator. And as that series revealed, Knull is one of the oldest life forms in the Marvel universe, existing in a time when everything was bathed in shadow and silence. But as light began creeping into the universe and the Celestials began their process of, stealing life, Knull took this as a personal affront. He forged the very first symbiote in the form of a weapon, all black, the Necrosword, and began killing the Celestials in retaliation. After being banished into a remote corner of the universe by the Celestials, Knull used a severed Celestial head as a forge with which to create more symbiotes. And that's where the weakness to fire and sound comes from for all of them. It conjures up primal memories of the forge in which they were painfully hammered into being. For eons, Knull used his symbiote army to conquer worlds and battle against the spread of life and light. Eventually, they all rebelled against their creator, imprisoned him inside an artificial world called Clintar, which is the origin of the name, and since then, the Clintar have done their best to atone for the destruction that Knull brought. But deep down, they always knew it was only a matter of time until Knull escapes and renews his worn existence. And that's where 2020's King in Black comes in. Now this storyline was notable not just for greatly fleshing out the backstory of Venom and its kind, but also helping Venom to stand alone as a character apart from the Spider-Man franchise. The scope of Venom's universe is far bigger than a rivalry with Peter Parker. Even Venom's spider emblem, something we haven't seen the character manifest in the movies, was revealed to actually be evoking one of Knull's symbiote dragons. My point, with Venom: The Last Dance showing the Clintar traveling to Earth and hunting the symbiote, the series will finally dig into this fascinating backstory. The final trailer reveals that Knull is sending newer and more powerful symbiotes to Earth, seemingly out of a desire to reclaim those like Venom who've escaped his clutches. The trailers show Venom battling a much bigger and more powerful symbiote on top of a plane, so we might be seeing the film's take on one of those symbiote dragons. Now the real question is whether Knull is the true endgame threat of this third movie, or is the goal more to tease the god of symbiotes and set him up for a future sequel? Sony clearly wants us to think that this is Hardy's final outing as Eddie Brock, but even if so, that doesn't have to mean the end of the series. Plenty of other Marvel characters have bonded with the Venom symbiote over the years, and the franchise could pivot to one of those other hosts in Venom 4. Teasing Knull as the main villain of a future sequel might be the ideal play, rather than trying to squeeze a full-fledged Knull versus Venom conflict into the climax of The Last Dance. But whether the Venom trilogy closes out with Knull, or tease him up for a bigger role in the next one, the time has come to bring this imposing, fascinating villain to the big screen. Probably the most anticipated symbiote appearance in Venom: The Last Dance is the live-action debut of the semi-heroic Toxin. Many eagle-eyed Marvel fans who watched the previous film, Venom: Let There Be Carnage, would have recognized the character Patrick Mulligan when he was introduced as a San Francisco police detective. In the comics, this policeman became the host for the Toxin symbiote after it was accidentally spawned by Carnage during a battle with Venom. And given that the climax of Let There Be Carnage had just such a battle, fans who recognized Detective Mulligan were eager to see him bond with Toxin. Now, thanks to the release of the Last Dance trailer, it has been confirmed that Mulligan has come into contact with a symbiote and is being held by the Life Foundation as they analyze the effect that it has on him. Given Mulligan's good-natured personality, fans are hopeful that he becomes an ally of Venom and Eddie Brock. But it is possible that he might not be able to control the more malignant instincts and he's gonna end up an antagonist. Alongside Scream's cameo appearance in the Last Dance trailer, the green and red form of Lasher can be seen being held by the Life Foundation, so the role Lasher will play in the movie, if any, is completely unknown. However, the situation the Lasher symbiote is in kind of mimics his original comic book role. So Lasher was a symbiote held by the Life Foundation with the hopes of creating a superhuman task force, and Lasher in particular was paired with the Mercenary. And as Lasher matured, he developed a particular fondness for creating additional appendages, such as tendrils or extra legs, as a method of greater mobility and as weapons. After breaking ties with the Life Foundation, now, his host tried to learn how to better control Lasher so that he could become a superhero, but sadly he was killed off by the paramilitary vigilante organization known as Jury during 1995's Separation Anxiety miniseries. While she didn't appear in a humanoid form, the trailer for The Last Dance showed the shapeless yellow and red form of the Scream symbiote being contained by the Life Foundation behind some sort of stasis field. Her role in the film was unknown, and whether or not fans will actually be able to see her take a host is uncertain. However, what is known about Scream in the Venom movies does line up with her role in the comics, where she was a test subject for the Life Foundation who wanted to make a task force of 5 superhuman symbiote-wearing soldiers. Scream was initially bonded to Operative Donna Diego under the alias of Strike Agent 4 and went on to battle with Venom, Spider-Man, and the Scarlet Spider several times, until sadly she was killed. Probably the most difficult symbiote to spot in the trailer, but Phage's formless orange body can be seen in the far right portion of the Life Foundation captured symbiote scene just before it cuts off. Phage may have actually made his cinematic debut way back in the first Venom movie, as a similarly orange symbiote is seen locked in a containment tank in the Life Foundation HQ. Like everybody else I've mentioned today, Phage was experimented on by the Life Foundation in the comics so that he could be used as part of a, you guessed it, superhuman task force. Now, when the Life Foundation first deployed Phage, the symbiote was bonded to Agent Karl Mock, who took it upon himself to lead the team as Strike Agent 1. While learning to fight with the Phage symbiote, Karl took great usage of the ability to create, weapons and spikes around its body as a form of protection that could double as a weapon if need be. Phage was the most distraught when Leslie Jesneria was killed and attempted to avenge her death. Yet, he also met his end at the hands of Scream. Agent Anti-Venom has one of the most intertwined origin stories of this universe. We're talking, he's got ties to Spider-Man and Venom. Born Eugene Flash Thompson, he was, a bully of Peter Parker, better known as Spider-Man. After returning from war, Flash became the host of the Anti-Venom symbiote, a similar yet unique version that contains distinctive powers, such as repelling others. Although Flash Thompson is currently portrayed by Tony Revolori in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene lets us know that these two universes might be connected. So the possibility of a new variant of Flash Thompson existing in Venom's universe is a compelling premise, and could be used to explore this antagonistic character. With his symbiote repelling power in play, Eddie could be forced to fight without his partner, supporting his individual character growth. Ever since Sony Pictures' first Venom movie, the concept of a greater symbiote threat existing beyond the stars has remained an ever-present source of concern for both the characters of the movie and the fans. So now, with The Last Dance trailer, we've got a sneak peek at an alien threat, the first look at what a pure alien symbiote could look like. So in the comics, like we mentioned before, the original species name for the symbiotes were the Clintar, which was first established by comic book writer Donny Cates as both the name of the alien race and their work for Cage. So in the movie trailer, we've got the pure Clintar battling Venom, and the Life Foundation is depicted as a multi-legged, almost insectoid creature with minimal sentience, aside from a seeming desire to save its captive kin from the Life Foundation. As a first look at the true alien symbiotes that Venom alluded to so long ago, it is promising, but hopefully there's something even more impressive holding this creature's leash, like maybe Knull. Adding to the treasure trove of symbiote cameos depicted in the Life Foundation's custody throughout the trailer, Agony's purple and pink form is seen floating right next to Scream in a similar field. Same as everybody else, we got that whole task force thing going on, but she was with Agent Leslie Jesneria. Now Leslie also yearned, she wanted to be something more than she was. She wanted to learn how to control everything. Sadly, she was killed by Scream. I know I mentioned it earlier, but All Black, the first symbiote. I think that would be so cool to see that in this movie, because even though technically it's already made its on-screen debut in Love and Thunder, I don't know, it just makes sense to help it wrap everything up here. Misery is the Marvel Universe's newest symbiote. So that story revealed that Alchemax has been studying various versions of the Carnage symbiote and exposing it to Anti-Venom. During an attack on Alchemax, the company's CEO ended up exposed to a hybrid of Carnage and the Anti-Venom, turning her into Misery, and I think that would be so cool to see on screen. And that's all for today, folks. I've been Alexa. See ya!